Hey everyone, welcome to a very special MacWhisperer live broadcast. One we've been looking forward to and talking about for weeks. I'm Frank DiCarlo, I'm your host and moderator for today, and I couldn't be more excited to have you with us for what promises to be a powerful and eye-opening session on a topic that's already reshaping how we live, how we work, and think. Artificial intelligence. Today's broadcast isn't just special because it's public, it's special because of the moment we're in. We're in the very early days of what will become one of the most significant technological shifts of our time. AI is still just getting started, and it's going to impact everyone. And I mean everyone. From how we write, learn, create, solve problems, to how we engage with technology itself. And we're extremely lucky to spend the next hour or so with someone who's not only a master of all things Apple, but someone who's been exploring and working with AI long before most people even heard the term ChatGPT. Dylan and I both started experimenting with AI more than 5 years ago, back when tools like Jasper, Microsoft Turing were just emerging. So when we say this topic is close to our hearts, we absolutely mean it. Today is about demystifying AI, showing you what's possible, where people get stuck, and how to start using it now to solve real-life problems. And yes, Dylan's diving into tools like Perplexity, Claude, Descript, ChatGPT, I'm sure a few others, but it's more than that. It's helping you connect the dots. So this is your chance today to ask Dylan questions live in the chat. No question is too small or too advanced, so go ahead. Please introduce yourself, tell us where you're watching from, drop those questions in as we go. We're going to be pulling them into the conversation throughout today's broadcast. And now, the man who speaks fluent Apple and machine learning, your guide to the future, and your tech whisperer of the present, Dylan Stewart, the MacWhisperer.
Howdy, everybody. Howdy.
How you doing, Dylan?
There's a while, Frank, where my phrase was, I speak fluent geek. It's all geek to me. Which I always thought was a fun play on that phrase because the reality is technology has its own language. And the problem is there's two different kinds of people that are working with technology. There's the engineers who speak like technology. Gigabyte this and megapixel that, and everything's got to have these weird terms that nobody knows. And then there's the human beings who just want to work with technology and interface with it in a clever way. One of the things that Apple's always been at the forefront of is really mastering the user experience, making it feel like we're not at odds with our technology, making it feel like our computer is our friend, not our foe. It's here to help. I've watched, for decades, I've watched Mac users, PC users, Android users, iPhone users, and I've noticed something very different about Apple users from PC and Android users, and that is they love their technology. They love their phone. I can ask 1,000 Android users, how do you feel about their phone? Most people are like, it's okay, it takes great pictures. Hey, I really like this thing it does. I like the little stylus. But you will ask 1,000 Apple users how they feel about any one of their Apple products, and they will always say, I love it. It's one of my favorite things to work with, to spend time on. And that difference is really important as we head into this AI world. And Frank was not underselling it. The reality is we are at the beginning of a revolution that none of us have any idea what it will look like in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. You know, Frank, you and I are old enough to remember pre-internet, right? I mean, I know I am. I think you are.
Sure.
Right? And when the internet happened, before it was the internet that everybody knows, when it happened, you knew that you were on the brink of something revolutionary, but it took so damn long to download every single web page that the best you could do is like, I guess it's a good place for chat. I guess it's for like bulletin boards and, like talk about comic books. Like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? And then 6 months later, oh my God, we were in this whole other world where this internet thing was a real thing and people were building websites and doing things. And overnight, the people who were in before you knew what it was going to look like became millionaires and billionaires.
It was fast.
Happened so fast. You got to think about Jeff Bezos like working in his little garage, like, I'd like to sell a book to somebody one day. Oh my God, here's this thing called the internet. Who knew? Billionaire. So when I talk about AI, when Frank and I talk about AI being this life altering revolution that's happening, I'm not underselling it. I'm not understating it. We don't yet understand what's going to happen, but I will tell you straight up, the train has left the station, it's in motion, and you get to choose. Do you want to be in front of the train, under the train, behind the train, or on it? I plan on being on it, standing right next to the engineer, figuring out how we can push this thing faster and harder without losing the human element. Now, we're going to talk a lot about AI in this conversation, and this is less of a lesson in how to use AI because that's going to take 10 hours, 20 hours, like a month. It's more of a conversation about how to think about AI. And there's a lot of concerns going on right now that AI is going to replace human beings. It's going to replace jobs. It's going to take over. And I want you to look all the way back to 1865 when the first calculating computers were built. And how much has changed since then. Life has changed. Technology has changed. Our culture has changed. So we can't expect things to be like they were back in the 1900s or in the 1990s or even in the 2020s. Things are going to change, and how we step in will direct them. So if you're afraid of AI, if you're afraid it's going to take over your job, your new job is figure it out. Get in the game. Because every place we're going to lose a job, we're going to gain 10. And no, they're not just going to be jobs to oil the joints of these Tesla robots that do all of our laundry. There are going to be legitimate jobs because when you build something with AI, it lacks heart and soul. And as hard as they've tried, as good as it's gotten, as improved as the artwork that they create is, it still lacks that spark that says, we're human. And we see our world in a way that we want to express to others. So we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about things where you might say, hey, that's theft, or hey, that's not the way I want to do it, or hey, it's going to put musicians out of work. And I want you to understand that we are at the precipice of something that has never happened in the history of mankind before. You now can do whatever you imagine without the learning curve of figuring out how. And talked to a bunch of artists who are very frustrated that AI art has happened because it's going to put them all out of business, and they spent 20, 30 years learning how to be artists, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love artists. I'm an artist myself in a million different ways. But I never spent the time to learn how to draw effectively. I do, however, in my head, have some amazing images that I'd like to put together. So my options are go back to school for 20 years, or use AI and have it done in 20 minutes? What do you think I'm going to choose? And if you are an artist who's saying, yeah, but I spent all this time, great. Keep spending that time. Keep getting better at your craft. But if you as an artist would also like to make music or code something or any other creative endeavor, I want you to understand that instead of I need 20 years of education to learn how to write a song. I need 20 years of education to learn how to create a website. I need 20 years of education to get my book written. All you need is your imagination and that much knowledge about how to use technology to better what you're doing. And that's all technology has ever been. It's not meant to replace us. It's meant to augment what we can do. I'm 50 years old. I just started learning to play the guitar. Frank has been playing the guitar for years, and I'm so ashamed to even let him hear me play guitar. But I've also been a poet for my whole life. Last night, I asked ChatGPT to take one of my poems and put it in song format so I could sing it and serenade my wife. It was a poem about her, so, made sense. It tweaked some of the rhymes, tweaked some of the rhythm, but it left like 99% of my poem but gave me song structure, which I never learned how to do. But all of a sudden, the 20 plus years that I've spent in technology allowed me to make a song and play it for my wife. Am I trying to go out on tour? Am I competing with Taylor Swift? No, I don't want to be a professional musician, but I do want to be able to express myself in any way humanly possible, whether that's art or music or technology or writing or anything. You no longer need to know how. Do you understand how valuable that is? Do you understand how much will change because of that, whether you want it to or not? So we're going to get deeper into all of this. I just wanted to get us kind of started with a little context. Frank, I believe we want to talk about YouTube membership before we get ourselves too deeply in here.
I'm noticing that there's quite a few more people here today, even from outside YouTube. So it might be smart to just let them know about our community. There's a lot of us that get together every week. There's people here from Facebook and LinkedIn. Maybe they would like to learn about a little bit about the MacWhisperer YouTube community. So let's bring that up.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to be brief on this. I'm going to start with the fact that I've been doing technology and running a business, helping people solve their tech issues for like 25 years now. And I found in that time that people need the same solutions. The same problems keep occurring. The same questions keep happening. How do I do this? How do I make that happen? How do I store my files? How do I organize my email? Several years ago, I finally got into the YouTube game. I was way late to it. I fought YouTube like most of y'all are fighting AI. I fought YouTube for no good reason. And when I finally landed on YouTube, I realized that I had a home there. A place where I could bring my wisdom, bring my tools, bring the way I think, and that my audience would find me. Thank you for finding me. Thank you for being here. We've added something to our YouTube channel that is called a YouTube membership. It means that you are sponsoring our channel for anywhere from $1 a month to $20 a month. There are different levels and different perks that are involved for each of those. Later on in this broadcast, we're going to share one of our smart guides. These are these really beautiful, simple, easy to understand ways to learn technology. We're going to share one of them with you later. If you are a YouTube member at the $20 level, you will receive access to all the smart guides we have and all the ones we continue to make as long as you stay a member. The 99-cent and $4.99 membership allows you access to YouTube live videos like this one. We normally do them on Thursdays at 12 o'clock for members only, and we're opening this up wide to all of you today because this topic is that valuable. But if you like what you hear, if you like what we're doing, if you want more of what we're bringing here, help support us. Consider hitting that QR code and joining at the 99-cent, the $4.99, the $10, or the $20 level. Every dollar matters, every dollar counts and allows us to focus more on bringing better videos, more tools, and giving you the answers that you seek. So that's our YouTube membership. I would love to have you guys check it out. I'd love to have you become a member and start checking out these live broadcasts that we have on a more regular basis.
We have a lot of fun here.
We do. It's true.
It's good to see you.
All right. Are we ready for our next step here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. I'm not going to screen share yet. I'll holler when I'm ready for the screen share. I just want to get us kind of into this next piece. So there's a term called a Red Queen's race. It's based on Alice in Wonderland. And the concept of a Red Queen's race is all you're doing in the race is trying not to fall behind. There's never going to be a winner. No one's ever going to win. It's a dead heat. But if you don't do your absolute best, you will be the loser. No one's going to win, but you'll be the loser. We are right now in a Red Queen's race for AI. Every company in the world that has technology somewhere in their background is trying to figure out how to use AI and make money at it. Some of them are making money. Most of them are not. There's a lot of people losing in this game, but it doesn't matter. We know that this is the next level of our technological advancement. So you have everybody in the game. Facebook, aka Meta, has their Llama LLM, which LLM stands for a large language model. It's what a lot of these AI tools are based on. They've been trained on billions and billions of lines of code, and they have learned how to predict and respond to almost any real world natural language question you can ask. And so you've got Facebook has one called Llama. Twitter X, whatever we're calling it now, has one called Grok. We're not going to talk about those guys. Google has one called Gemini. We'll mention that in just a moment. There's one from a company called Anthropic called Claude. There is a issue going on with Claude this week that their latest version may have achieved consciousness. They're in the testing phase trying to figure out if that's really true or not. We're all racing for this potential point where artificial intelligence becomes actually intelligent instead of just programmed to regurgitate information that's heard before. The reason ChatGPT and all these AIs feel like it's so easy to see when somebody's using AI is because they're really good at replicating. They're not really good at creating yet. They're not really good at being unique and bringing something we haven't seen. But if Claude actually has reached some level of independent thought, this race is going to get really interesting really, really quickly. And that just happened this week. And the news in the AI world is like, Frank, I mean, there's there is a new piece of something every day. You cannot stay caught up on it. Google just released their latest version of Gemini, version 2.5. It's got some nice tools to it. We'll talk about it for a moment. And then you've got the big dog. OpenAI has an app called ChatGPT that everyone's grandmother knows about now. Hey, Frank, do you know how they knew that YouTube was going to be a successful website?
I don't.
Well, you might remember that there was an American Idol performer. Her name was Susan Boyle. She sang this amazing song. She was a real frumpy woman. Grandmothers shared that video via YouTube. And when grandmothers start doing something, it means you've moved beyond the early adopters and into the masses. Grandmothers are the masses. And so when I hear that my friend's mom, friend's dad has dabbled into ChatGPT, is using it to write their book or to draw an animated children's book for their grandkids, I go, this isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And for anybody who wants to pick the right horse in the race, it's hard to do, but ChatGPT is what we're going to put a lot of attention on today because I think it is the most well-rounded, the most easy to access, and the easiest to understand. And I have been digging deep this week, ridiculously deep into these separate tools. We're also going to talk about a search engine that is no longer being called a search engine. It is now called an answer engine called Perplexity. And Perplexity is one of the biggest existential challenges that Google has ever had to face. Because when you do a Google search, you get a list of websites. And then you click on the websites and you look at them. And it takes forever. And maybe you get an answer. And maybe you don't. Right? But with Perplexity, it gives you the answer. And this is going to rewrite how search engine optimization and websites work. Because if we don't need to go to the website to get the answer, how does the website make any money? And how do the words of the website get communicated to these AI apps? It's a little hard to know right now, but if you have not dabbled with Perplexity, after today's conversation, you'll want to. And then we're also going to talk about one other tool. This tool is called Descript. Descript is an AI-based editing program. Now, I don't know if you've ever done any video editing, if you've ever shot stuff on your phone and wished that you could make it into a movie or something like that. Editing is complicated. I actually did learn how to edit. I was in film school for a long time and I actually edited with real film, not even digital film. I know how to actually edit with like chopping little pieces of film and putting it together with tape. I can do that. It's a pain in the butt. This tool that we're going to talk about, Descript, makes editing so easy. You've been using it a little bit with me, Frank, right? You've been kind of dabbling in it.
I was using Otter, and then you turned me on to Descript. I was like, oh yeah, well, this is it.
Yeah.
It's night and day.
Yeah. Otter was the head of the game until the game changed, and now it's irrelevant. It's an irrelevant app. So if you're one of these people like, Otter is my life, move on. Otter got left behind, and no one's looking backwards now. It's this Red Queen's race. Otter's out of it. So that's kind of the gist of what we're going to get into. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I want to talk a little bit about this idea of how we use these different apps. And Frank, go ahead and bring the screen up for me, if you will.
I also want to remind everybody to just start putting your questions in the chat because we're going to be pulling from them. We want this to be a conversation today.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you've got questions, again, I'm not going to go deep into teaching because I really want to just affect your mindset, how you're thinking about this.
Exactly.
So right now you're looking at my ChatGPT. Technically, we're looking at the ChatGPT conversation that built the agenda for the live broadcast that we're currently in, because I use ChatGPT for everything. But I wanted to just start, I wanted to show you what these different apps looked like and give you just a quick idea of which ones do what well. And we're going to start off here. This is ChatGPT. You can run it from the website. I personally prefer to download applications. So this is, you can see it down here. This is my ChatGPT application. ChatGPT is really one of the most powerful tools in this conversation. We're going to come back to it in a moment, but I just want you to see how easily you can organize different GPT agents. You can see that I got a couple of them in this bar up here. Different projects that contain all sorts of other conversations along with accompanying documentation, and then also specific chat conversations. We're going to talk about all of that in a moment. What I like best about ChatGPT, and the reason I really want to focus on it today, is this little tool that you'll see right at the bottom here. This little tool does something crazy cool, and I've struggled to find anything that replicates it with the other tools. I'm going to click this button and it's going to allow me to point to one of the apps that is open on my computer. I can point to Notes. I can point to the coding app that I'm using. I can point to Notion, Script Editor, or Terminal. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and open up Notes. And right now it's pointed to a note called New YouTube videos. Now I'm going to just open that up so we can see what it's looking. This is my new YouTube videos list. It's a long list of all sorts of videos I want to make. Now, without copying, without pasting, without doing anything, I can turn to this and say, give me the top 3 videos from this list to make next and tell me why. Now, I can look through that list, but it's like 200 different YouTube videos. I just want to film the next one. I don't have to copy, I don't have to paste, I don't have to do anything because ChatGPT has the capability of seeing parts of my computer. And when we talk about the other ones, you're going to see why that matters. Okay, so here it broke it down. It said I should do one on iOS 18 reminders, emergency docs and photos, what to save and where, and how to use ChatGPT. Huh, interesting. So it gives me a little reason of why. It's super simple. It's super easy to do.
Quick question.
Now yes.
So, based on the response that you got from ChatGPT, what is it that you were actually asking? When you said what to do next, what is ChatGPT referencing in that?
So
note?
this is a list of all of the YouTube videos that I've got on my to be made list. And I'm constantly adding things to this list. This is essentially, if we look at it, this is tons of different videos in different categories and different topics for the phone, for the computer, for the iPad. It's a laundry list. So what I'm asking it to do is look at everything in that laundry list and deliver 3 that are timely, easy to make, and relevant, and we'll get good views on YouTube for trending. And I did that with I just gave it a very basic prompt, but you can see that it went in and it pulled specific things. Now I could adjust that and I could say, no, give me videos for the iPad only.
There you go.
And again, I don't have to go into the note. I don't have to copy paste. It can just go, oh, here you go. Well, here's one of them. Here's a second one. Here's a third one. In a matter of seconds, it parsed through hundreds of videos to give me an answer, which saves me time when I need to make the next one. And that's part of what we're talking about here is how do I shortcut what I'm trying to do? How do I make it easy? Chris asks, what's the difference between the free and the paid version of popular AI tools, and how do you figure out which one's right for you? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about how to figure out which one's right. The basic difference between the free and the paid is the complexity of the answers you receive and the volume of questions you can ask. On the free versions, you will cap out very quickly if you're using these tools. But all of them have a pretty robust free level because nobody knows which the right one is yet. And so it's really, really easy for us to come in and play with it for a month. I played with Gemini earlier this week and I got a trial version of it and immediately was like, no, I don't want to pay for it. I paid for Claude yesterday. I may stop paying for it. I'm just on a month to month on a lot of these, and it's easy to do, and a lot of them have trials. But be aware, you'll know when you need to upgrade because it'll stop doing what you're trying to do. Don't go paying for everything. Pick one, play with it. And as I said before, if you want to just make this a simple answer, go with GPT. It is the standard. It has the most tools, the most flexibility, the most functionality. And when we talk about these pre-programmed GPT agents, you're going to go, oh, I see why. But before we do that, let's just take a quick look at some of the other ones. Just take a quick talk on them. I'm going to move over into Claude. So one of the projects that I've been working on with AI in the last week is I'm trying to create an email analysis program that will allow me to run a script that looks at somebody's Mac mail documents and history and can output who sends them the most emails, how large their biggest emails are and who the senders are that send them, where the big emails are, and what emails should be junked, deleted, unsubscribed, or moved into other folders. I'm essentially using it to create an entire program to replicate what I do in person when I fix people's emails. Incidentally, Frank, this is just a perfect time for us to briefly say we're hosting an amazing workshop on Father's Day weekend. Yep, you saw that. You saw that bridge, right? We're hosting an amazing workshop on Father's Day weekend that's going to teach people how to properly clean up their email and get to inbox zero. Frank, why don't you pull up that QR code? We can bring it back later. But if you are interested in learning how to get your email in better shape, clear out your inbox, stop dodging all that junk, and not take 10,000 years to get your email down to zero or close to it, this workshop's going to be super, super helpful for you. And I'm only bringing it up now because the program that I'm writing with AI is built to replicate what we're talking about in this workshop. At some point, I hope to have it a fully functional Mac app that we can sell and people can use. But here's the crazy part. When you're ready, Frank, pop me back over the screen.
Sure. There we go.
So you'll see over here on the screen, there's a ton of code, there's a ton of information, there's a ton of things that I'm doing. We are currently inside Claude, made by Anthropic. And what you need to know is, I've never coded a damn thing in my entire life before this week. Not one thing since my first computer class back in 1982 when I programmed using BASIC. So we're talking about, what, 40 years without coding, and I am deep into building this app because of the tools that I'm using. I have found that Claude is a phenomenal coder. I had originally started coding with ChatGPT and I hit a block where it wasn't able to figure its way out. So I moved the entire code over to Claude and it doubled the output, made it much cleaner, much better, and all I had to do is tell it what I wanted. You'll see here, I'm giving suggestions on storage cleanup recommendations. We've got AI recommendations. It's built the code. The code is right here. All I have to do is copy and paste that directly into this visual code editor, and I can build a program that will tell me how many emails you received in any year, who sent you the most emails, and all this other stuff with exactly zero, 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 double zero. Zero coding experience, because we live in the world where how is not the right question anymore. We're going to talk about what the right question is in a moment, but I just wanted to show you that I use Claude specifically for this coding because based on everything that I was doing, that was the best use for Claude, and that was the best coder that I could find. So if you're doing a lot of coding, if you're going to build an app, you might want to play with Claude first instead of the way I did it. Now, I'm going to have Gemini on here. I don't have Gemini on here. I'm going to talk about Gemini for just a second. What I really liked about GPT, and I'm going to pull us back over to there. What I really liked about GPT is this ability to see the apps that you're working in. It just makes it so helpful, especially when you're dealing with coding, because there are hundreds and hundreds of lines of code. To copy and paste and copy and paste and copy and paste is exhausting. So, I'll go ahead, Marianne, I'll show you that link in a second. We'll get back to that. In fact, I just clicked it again, but I'll show you in a moment. It's exhausting. So the fact that GPT can directly connect with this program amongst other programs makes it a really good tool. But Claude was a better coder, and so I had to make that happen. Along the way, I also experimented with Gemini. Gemini is Google's tool, and to understand why I didn't use Gemini and why I stopped paying for it, anyone who's talked to me or listened to me, you know that I'm not a huge Google fan. However, YouTube is a Google product. And one of the other scripts that I'm creating is a way to analyze comments that I get from YouTube videos and help me respond to them quicker, because right now I'm getting hundreds of comments a day, and without hiring some, kid to type in fake responses, it's taking me forever. So I'm building a script to help me with that. Again, zero coding experience in doing it. Because it was a YouTube script I was building, I thought it would make sense to use Gemini first. Well, I was beyond disappointed. Not only did Gemini overcomplicate the coding and overcomplicate everything, but all Gemini can see is Google apps. It can see Google Docs, and it can see Google Drive, and it can see Google Mail, and it can see, I don't have any of those. I am not deep in the Google ecosystem. I have a Mac. I have a Gmail address, but it is not my main address. And other than that, yeah, I use Google Docs, but I can't rely on 100% of the things I need GPT or AI for to have access to Google products. That just locks me in further. On top of that, Gemini didn't know YouTube's own interface. And so it kept hitting errors. And I kept saying to myself, but aren't you Google? Aren't you YouTube? Shouldn't you know that that button's not here, it's there? Shouldn't you be able to see the code that I'm writing inside of your program? The answer is nope. So big thumbs down for Gemini. I moved on. I canceled my subscription before the 7-day trial even got started. And I'm not sorry about it, because between GPT and Claude, I'm 80% of the way through building this script. Now, the show just for Marion. Marion is one of our YouTube members. She's also one of my regular students. So I just want to call out here that when you are in a ChatGPT conversation, there is this button at the bottom of your conversation. It's got a little arrow and a little dotted line around it. And if you click upon it, it will show you any open applications that it can connect to, like the coding app, the notes app, Notion, script editor, or terminal. I'd love for it to be able to do more. I'd love for it to be able to see Safari and all these other things. It doesn't yet, and there are privacy concerns within that, but I still like that it connects to these apps. And I will share one other thing that people don't think about. GPT and these tools can see screenshots. So sometimes when I have a problem with something and I'm like, I don't know, this code doesn't make any sense. Why isn't it making any sense? I might just take a screenshot of that code. It's not going to work right here, and drag it into GPT and say, based on this screenshot, what's the error? You can also upload PDFs or documents or anything that you need to analyze. And I really find that GPT is the one to go with because of that simplicity of their interface and their interactivity with other apps. So let me catch my breath for a second here. What I want to do in a moment is I want to give you a handful of super basic get started with ChatGPT tips. And then we're going to talk about why how is the wrong question now. Frank, you got something you want to share for us?
Yeah, always. We talked a little bit about the. Why don't we give everybody the smart guide? I know we weren't originally going to give away a smart guide today, but why don't we do that? We have a lot of new people here, and they're not familiar with what we do on a weekly basis. This
Can I talk
was
about the smart guide for just a second?
well, yeah, absolutely. But what I was going to say is this wound up on my desk today. I was like, where did this one come from? And the person that created it was like, maybe you want to use this today. I was like, yeah, we do. Go ahead. I'm glad you're excited about it too because I was impressed.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of using the Notes program on Mac, and if you're not using the Notes program, I strongly recommend you start. It is better than using Microsoft Word for word processing, where you've got to scatter your documents everywhere. It holds everything together. It looks great on the phone, on the computer, on the iPad. It's easy, it's simple. It's better than Pages. I actually prefer it to almost any app that I write things down on. However, I'm also a huge nerd and I love keyboard shortcuts. I love them. I love them. And I have learned hundreds of them. So whenever I'm working with people, people are like, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? How'd you do that? And the answer is, I pay attention to keyboard shortcuts. But I'd never looked into what notes could do with keyboard shortcuts. And when I did, blew my own mind, learned things I didn't know, and reported them all to you. So in this smart guide, you're going to learn all of the top level notes, keyboard shortcuts that will simplify the process of formatting notes, creating notes, changing the list of them, changing the size of them, moving things around, and like 20 other tips. I think there was a total of like 30 or somewhere in that
Is
range.
that right?
Of different tips. Yeah, I'm so proud of both this YouTube video and this smart guide that I hope more people can see the video and can download the smart guide, because if you use notes even a little bit, this is going to save you hours and hours and hours. And I'm not kidding about that, because two of the tips here that I didn't know before, I now use 100 times a day, 1,000 times a day. I don't even think about it anymore. I'm typing, I'm like, oh, that needs to be formatted. Oh, that needs to be this color. Oh, that needs to be edited. I was working with Frank on something the other day, and we were screen sharing, and he was like, "How'd you do that? How'd you do that? How'd
You
you
were
do that? How'd you do
flying.
that?" And
You were
so
flying on
fast.
notes. Yeah, we are Apple people.
Yeah, yeah. And I will just go ahead and say, if you want to learn about notes, I've got a ton of great notes videos on my YouTube channel. I would start with this one, mostly because I think it's an, unseen gem. It has not yet had the viewership that I believe it deserves. And you could be the one that makes that change and gets that ball rolling so that this notes and keyboard shortcuts video really flies off the shelf.
Well, smart guides have become a big part of what we're doing, or a big offering that we give every week. It's become extremely popular. The community really enjoys them. We bring them every week to YouTube lives. They're in the smart guide library now. Every week it's updated, so it's become a big part of what we're doing. We even created that little
I want to
logo.
say, yeah, that's exactly it. I wanted to say, you'll
Did you want
notice
to
our
say?
little smart guide download logo. First of all, yes, we created that with AI. I'm sorry, I don't have design skills beyond the basics. I still think it looks great. My wife and Frank and our whole team worked on that together. If you like smart guides and you like this one, in the next couple of weeks, start to look for that smart guide download icon on thumbnails on my channel. It will let you know which videos have a smart guide for them. And I think we've got like 130 smart guides right now. So you're going to find them all over the place,
Yeah,
and more to come. Keep an eye out on that logo, and let us know if there's one missing that you'd like to see.
there we go.
Okay. All right. It's not my intention to teach you how to use GPT today, but I want to give you like the 3 or 4 tips that will make it easier for you to figure it out. I'm going to remind you again, I'm going to get to this in a second. How is not the right question anymore. It's not relevant. I'll explain why. We're going to start with, up at the top is your standard GPT. So when you come in here and you type something down in the field, you will be generating a new GPT conversation. That's what they call these. They call them chats, but I call them conversations. That's what you'll see with all of these separate things down here. So each time you come up to the top or click the new button up in the upper left corner, you will immediately generate a new chat through that particular GPT. Now, you'll notice I have a bunch of them here. We'll talk about that in a second. But the first idea is, not everything needs to be a new chat. And so not everything needs to be a new chat, but not everything should be in one chat. I'm going to give you an example. We're going to start with a basic prompt here. I want to know, what do we want to know, Frank? What the, I don't know, give me a topic.
When was "Oh Darling" by the Beatles written?
I'm doing even better than that. I'm
I
doing a
need.
YouTube video tracking the history of the Beatles, and I want to find out all the information that you can tell me about Oh Darling, the song from the Beatles. For those of you who wondered how all those words showed up when I just said them, I use an AI dictation tool called WhisperFlow. And we actually have a link for that I can drop in or can hand off to Frank in a moment. If anybody wants the WhisperFlow dictation tool that you just saw me use, pop it into the chat and I'll make sure we get that link for you. So here it's giving me information about Oh Darling, right? Here's the list, the track, the songwriting, the vocal performance, blah, 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 blah. Now, let's say that I'd also like to find out information about Yellow Submarine. A lot of people will forget that they've already started this conversation. They will come in here and they will say, I'm making a YouTube video about the history of Beatles. I'd like you to tell me all about the song Yellow Submarine. Now, there's no problem in doing that, except the other conversation already got that ball rolling for us. And now, instead of having one place for both of these pieces of information, instead of training one GPT to give me better answers on this conversation, I now have two places to look, which is really annoying. I want you to think organization wise. Forget about AI and all this. Anytime you put one thing in two places, you're going to double the time it takes to find it because you'll never know. Well, was it part of this one? Maybe it was part of that one? I don't remember. I have to look at both of them. So this is one of those key pieces. Not everything needs to be its own conversation. Really, this conversation here should have just tagged into here. And I should have said, great work on that. Now do the same for Yellow Submarine. Incidentally, you're going to see me not type a whole hell of a lot for the rest of the video today. Just know I don't type at all anymore. I get really annoyed when I have to actually use my fingers for something. Like I was working in bed last night while Julie was sleeping. I was like, ugh, I'm gonna have to type. Ugh, it's so 1984. Ugh. Here we've got this information for both songs. Now, because it's one conversation, I can ask for follow-up and I can say, I'd like you to put this information together and also add three other amazing Beatles songs into it and build it into a YouTube script where we go from one song to the next, giving an entire timeline of the top 5 Beatles songs that you've chosen. Instead of starting over and starting over and starting over and starting over and having to say, hey, I'm still doing this project, and hey, I'm interested in the Beatles, and hey, we once did this one song, and hey, I'm now giving it the information within one conversation to do more. Here is our YouTube script, The Beatles in 5 Songs, A Journey Through Time. There's descriptions of what's going to happen. We've got visuals. We've got the different songs, the different information, all the different pieces. And I didn't have to do any of it. Okay. Now, in this exact same conversation, I am now going to screw things up by putting something that doesn't belong here. Okay? So I am going to talk about a completely different YouTube video that I'm going to make that has nothing to do with the Beatles. I'd also like to make a YouTube video talking about how ChatGPT and Perplexity are challenging Google. Make sure to integrate everything we've talked about. Now, is it going to do it? Sure. But I've now polluted this conversation to the point where when I come back later and say, hey, I want to expand upon my Beatles video, I've got ChatGPT garbage in the middle of it now. I've got unnecessary pieces. And GPT is not brilliant. It is just a good copier. So the more things you put into what it's copying from, the more errors you're going to have. And all of a sudden, I'm going to get accidentally told that ChatGPT wrote the song yesterday. And isn't it amazing that AI created the Beatles? I polluted the stream. So the piece here is not everything is its own conversation, but not everything is the same conversation. Split the difference. And don't forget that when you've got these chats over here, you can always right click on them and rename them. Did you see me type? Did you see how clunky that was? Oh, I should have just dictated it.
You were in such pain.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, I don't want to do this. Um, Naming your chats is important. Deleting the chats that you don't need is also important. And in a later conversation, understanding projects is also important, because if I wanted to have 5 or 6 different chats about the Beatles and different elements and different parts, but I wanted to combine all of it into one conversation that ChatGPT could look at all of the different questions and answers, then you want to create a project. Not going to get deeper into that.
You put me on the
So
spot.
about
I gave you a lousy example. And based on what it is that you started to create, I would suggest that we go to Perplexity first, because Perplexity is best for research and fact checking, right? It gives you real time cited sources. Take that information, then put it in ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is great at creative writing, brainstorming, conversational tasks. Write me a script to complement the YouTube video on this information that I gathered from Perplexity on the Beatles through the spans of 62 and 68, right? Boom.
Yeah.
And you would have had
Yeah.
it.
And what's really interesting about what you just said is this is this other piece. We haven't even dabbled in this other piece yet, right?
Yeah.
We haven't really gotten into this other piece. And this other piece is everybody's decided that ChatGPT is the only tool they're going to use for AI. And it's a mistake. If a carpenter walks into your house and he's holding nothing but a screwdriver, is he a good carpenter? I mean, the screwdriver is a great tool and all, but it sucks for hammering in nails or loose pipes. It's just not made for it. ChatGPT is great, but ChatGPT has this major flaw. So do all of the LLMs. The major flaw is what the tech world has decided to call hallucinations, what I call bullshitting. And GPT bullshits like it's a profession, like it's the world's greatest bullshitter. You will be in the middle of a conversation and it will straightforward, with no understanding that it's wrong, tell you that John Lennon was president of the United States in 1946. Like, no, he wasn't. Yes, he was. I've got pictures to prove it. And it will generate pictures. And you'll be like, what are we even talking about, GPT? Like, we know that's not who was the president. It's a little bit of an exaggeration, just a little bit. So when you're looking for factual information, and I'm seeing this a lot, people will come into GPT and they will say something like, find me the best hairdresser nearby who specializes in bald hairstyles. And it's going to give me information. And it might even give me factual information. It might even give me accurate stuff. Depends. Sometimes it's great. I like when it gives me the sources so I can back that up. But if I come over to, I'm going to open up Safari for me here. Do I not have a Safari window? I do not. Let's move that over here. Move over there. Just like that. If you come into Perplexity and you ask any kind of question, rather than it doing what Google does, which is give you a bunch of websites, let's take a look. I'll come in here and we're going to go best hairdressers specializing in bald heads. All right, so I'm going to get a bunch of links. And now I got to spend the rest of the day going, well, hammer and nails. Well, what about this one? Well, what about that one? And what's a good barber? And blah, 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 blah. But if I come in and I do that exact same thing here in Perplexity, oh, I had typed again. Best hairdressers specializing in bald heads near me. It's going to look, it's going to gather information, and it's going to give me an answer. Location, information, how to call them, why they're known for it. It's giving me a couple of answers, but it's very, very localized in what it's getting. So using Frank's example, which, what do we want to say? What do we know about the song, Oh Darling, right? Let's come back over to Google here and we'll say, Tell me everything you know about the song "Oh Darling" by the Beatles. Now, I want you to notice up at the top, we're getting this new AI overview from Google, and that is because Google's afraid. So they're trying to do what Perplexity is doing, but they're also kind of hiding it. And know that in the next month, they're going to hide it less. It's going to be in your face with their overview. Okay. And then a bunch of links and a bunch of random stuff. Coming back over to Perplexity here. Give me over to Perplexity. Where am I? I actually have an app for Perplexity, so let's open that up. Tell me everything you know about the song "Oh Darling" by the Beatles. Just answers, legitimate answers, factual answers with sources for every piece of information.
The key there is that they're
So,
all current, right? ChatGPT, I
mhm,
think, is still in 2022, and with Perplexity,
yep.
you're getting on, to date, and that you got cited all the sources, so it's telling you where it got the information from.
I'm not saying don't use GPT. I'm
Hmm.
just saying separate your purposes. If you are looking for factual information and research, Perplexity is going to get you on the right track faster. It's going to do less hallucination, less bullshitting. You will have to do less fact checking. Not no fact checking, because we're human beings and we should still check this stuff. I want to tell you, amazing. There were two books called out this week for leaving ChatGPT prompt code inside of a published book. That's ridiculous, people. If you're going to use GPT, clean it up before you publish it. Come on. Be sensitive to this stuff. It's just not that hard to make sure we spot check things. But as I said, using Perplexity is going to give me less of the need to spot check because the sources are all here. It'll tell me exactly where it found that information and allow me to gather it together. So when we're having the conversation about, I want to research something, Perplexity is usually where I start. When we have I'll answer that question for John very, very quickly in a moment.
Yeah.
When we are looking for research, Perplexity. When we are looking for brainstorming back and forth and building something from our imagination, helping us put together the pieces, GPT. And you can use GPT for the other stuff too. Just be a little bit careful. John asks, how do you know the true information from GPT from the fake information? You look it up. I know that's a terrible answer, right? Which is why I start with Perplexity first, because there is so much bullshitting happening in GPT that to look at every single piece of every single thing they say every single time I do a search, it's too hard. Going back to the example we had here on our Chat GPT, where we were dealing with our Beatles YouTube video, I would have to spot check everything here before I felt good about putting out a video and trusting that 100% of this information was accurate. But that's what human beings need to do. We need to spot check things because we're better at it.
Which is
So,
why we said what we said before, right? Do your fact checking in Perplexity, grab all of that, and do your creative process in ChatGPT.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I have one more. And I know that we are for sure going to run over our hour. Should we take a moment? Is there something we need to share before we hit that hour mark, Frank?
The only other thing
I'm going to
is
keep going. I got another two, maybe three
we,
pieces
we
before
we
we're done.
we could be doing this once a week. There's something always changing in AI, let alone in Apple.
Right.
The only other thing I
Right.
think we should talk about, because again, we have a lot of people here that haven't been a part of the community before and seen us on YouTube, is maybe talking about the other ways that people can work with you in the academy and actually take classes with Apple and all thing ecosystem
Yep. Yep.
in
Let's
your
bring that up
membership,
too.
which is a blast. It's a Zoom atmosphere. It's a lot different than this environment.
One of the things that is frustrating about doing YouTube lives is that they're not super live. I can't hear you guys. I can't see you guys. I can only trust that the chat is more or less up to date and people are engaged. I have no way to really measure and adapt and adjust. I'm basically talking to Frank and a screen and trusting that y'all are getting value. I believe you are. But when we do the Mac Whisper Academy, it's different. It's on Zoom instead of on a YouTube live platform, which means if you want, you can have your video on. We can talk in real time. I can bring you up on stage. You can ask your questions. The way the Mac Whisper Academy works, it's a $100 per month subscription, and it gives you two-hour long classes every month on a new topic. The topics cover how to organize your email, how to manage your photos, how to take better pictures, how to save storage space on your phone, pretty much anything that you could think of technologically, AI tools, whatever we want to get into. Two-hour classes per month. And then it also comes with two one-hour Q&A sessions where the entire community comes together to ask any question, anything you're struggling with, any problem you've got. On top of that, I do one-on-one work, and I'm always looking for new people who want to sit down with me and get my insight on how to make their technology work better. If you live in Los Angeles, it can be in person. If you don't live in Los Angeles, it can be remote. I've got clients all over the world. My cost is $200 per hour until Sunday. On Sunday, we have my price is going up to $225 per hour. So a little window if you want to sneak in. Tell Frank we'll get you we'll get you booked up for some time. But the nice thing about being a member is members get discounts on my hourly rate. It makes it easier for you to continue to have the ongoing assistance in making your technology work for you. What we're talking about here is like a little piece of how AI can change everything for you. But what you need to know is that the AI train is moving, but so is the technology train, and they're moving fast. I was talking to one of my members who said he was the go-to guy for everyone in his community to ask Mac questions, and then he stopped updating his equipment because he didn't want to buy a new phone. And by the time he bought a new phone, everything was different, and he knew nothing. Things change fast here. And if you think they changed fast in the last couple of years, the number of changes we're expecting Apple to release at their announcement a week from Monday, mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Like it's laundry. I don't know how they're going to have the time for all the things they're going to be talking about.
What's that, 19?
Things change fast. That's they're not even going to call it iOS 19. That's one of the changes is the next operating system will most likely be iOS 26 based on the year it was released.
That's changing.
That's changing. And so like people are going, well, what happened to iOS 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25? People who don't know and people who aren't in the technological game are going to think that their brand new phone is 7 operating systems behind.
Right.
Whoops. Nope. So having someone like me in your pocket that can keep you abreast of the changes, who can inform you as we move forward, is more valuable than you can possibly imagine. And I will call it out in these 2 examples. When I first started my Mac Whisper Academy membership in February of 2020, before the world shut down, my very first class was on how to use a program nobody else had heard of called Zoom. So if you were a part of my membership in 2020, when the pandemic hit, you were uniquely positioned to utilize the tool that everybody else would figure out 6 months to a year to 5 years later if they'd figured it out even now. Second example, in March of 2022, OpenAI joined the conversation. AI is here. ChatGPT is here. It's a brand new tool. We had a class that week on how to use ChatGPT, 2022. I'm on top of technology so you don't have to be, but having me in your life is valuable to keep you on top of things because everything I do will save you time and make your job easier. Technology is here to support us, not the other way around, and we've been doing it wrong. We're letting technology swallow all our time. We're scrolling endlessly without actually building things or doing what human beings were put here to do, create. And all those tools are available. I'm ready to talk about why how is no longer the right question, Frank.
Sure.
You'll screen share me over.
I just want to remind everybody that this offer isn't anywhere else but here. The 30 days free. So it's a good place to take advantage of that. Bring the computer back up.
Yeah. Bring the computer back up. So, how? I don't know how to do that. How am I supposed to get started? How will AI help me? How should I use AI? How? And the problem with how is that everybody thinks it's the right question. So they're not getting into the AI game because they don't know how to start. They don't know how to download it. They don't know how to set up an account. How? I'm going to teach you how. You ready? How do I use you? Oh, that's how. Interesting. How do I download the GPT app? Okay, here we go. Here's all the information for that. How should I get started with AI? The reason how has become irrelevant because if you want to know, just ask. All you have to do is go to chatgpt.com and type or dictate if you have the dictation tools that I have. And it doesn't stop here. Like I'm saying, how do I use AI? But let's start this. How do I create a business plan? Oh, super helpful. How do I find the best resources in the world for how to use artificial intelligence? I can do this all day, Frank. You got a how? I know you've got one how. Tell me your how.
Well, I would go to Perplexity for some of that because I don't trust GPT. So, just in that last case, I'm just being picayune, but
Yeah.
I use ChatGPT mainly for creative. So, I have a new blog. I want to write a blog and I'm stuck. And I'm involved in Photoshop or Adobe. What are the latest trends or what is a blog post on the difference between Illustrator and Photoshop?
Now, I'm not going to argue with that because I know you're right that when we're doing deep levels of research, Perplexity's got better tools for it. But I also want to just simplify this question of how do I do anything?
Yeah.
Anything. Anything. Right? How do I start a YouTube channel? I'm giving quick questions. I'm not asking for detailed answers. I could go deeper. I'm going to talk about that in just a second, but I want you to eliminate the question how. Just ask it.
Yeah.
Whatever your how is, just ask it. Which makes the more important question when, not WIN, WHEN. And what I mean by when is when should I use AI? Where is the place where this would benefit me, would save me time, would help me out? A lot of people have not done anything beyond adjusting a blog. Yeah, it's great. Take what somebody emailed you, put it in there, have it, blah, blah, blah. That's great. I'm not arguing about that, Frank, because I know that that is a great use for it. I'm only saying that it's not even the ice cube in the drink on the tip of the iceberg.
You know what the best at how was that I entered in ChatGPT, and I noticed that you have a couple there. How do I create a customized agent in GPT?
Well, we're going to get to that.
That was a game changer. Are you bringing that up today? Because I know that's a whole.
Yeah, there's 100. It's the next thing we're going to talk about. We're
Okay,
right
cool.
here, like that close. But I want you to start to ask yourself, when would AI be helpful? And I've built for myself this trigger, and I'm going to suggest you all find your own trigger. My trigger is this. Ugh, I don't want to do that. Now, I want you to think about how many times in your day you go, oh, I don't want to do that. Or whatever your version of that is. And then I want you to recognize that's the win. That's the win. The win is when you don't want to do it, but it needs to be done anyways. I want to write a song out of a poem that I created. So it's much easier. That was my win. I want to do I was doing this I have three cats. Use this example. I have three cats, and we don't have a lot of storage space for extra cat food. And so rather than trying to do some complicated mathematical equation to figure out how much each cat weighs and how much they eat and how much a can has and how much this and how much that, we basically dropped everything we needed into GPT and said, tell me how many cans to buy and how often. And it went, here. When you go, oh, I don't want to do that. And there's a million examples. Which brings me to agents. Thank you for that lead in, Frank. You did a great job on
I
that.
had no idea it was
Perfect.
coming. That's great.
Yeah. You pinned me like we had a script for this.
Yeah, really.
So here's what an agent is. Up at the top here, you'll see that we've got ChatGPT. ChatGPT is the bare bones ChatGPT program. It is Play-Doh. In fact, I found a better term for it the other day. It's Legos. Okay? You've got a set of Legos, and you can buy a big bag of Legos from, Goodwill. There's no directions there, but you could build anything with those Legos. That's ChatGPT, a bunch of Legos. But I got to tell it, I'm going to be creating a song based on poems that I've written. I want you to be able to break this down and make it a song format. You've got to act as if you're the world's greatest songwriter in order to give me exactly what I need for this. Now, I can do that and train it. I am taking Legos out of that random bag and I'm saying, make it this shape. And it's going to do that. But for anyone who's got kids and has ever bought a Lego set, it's great to just have one with the right directions. It's great to walk in and say, hey, I need one that looks like an electric guitar. Oh, here we go. Let's do that. So down here where you see this section called Explore GPTs, I'm going to click on that again because it opened the window before I was ready. Right here where it says Explore GPTs, a GPT is a pre-programmed Lego set. And it is pre-programmed with anything you can imagine. So if I come in here and I say legal, it's going to give me, law and contract, U.S. contracts, law, legal and contracts, legal GPT. Is this an actual lawyer? No, but it's been programmed to understand legalese and be able to work with it. It's a Lego set that does contracts. So what if there was a Lego set that did songwriting? Oh, there's lots of them. So what that means is I can come in and come into the songwriting assistant Lego set, and I can say, we're going to do this in real time just so you can see it happen. I'm going to open up my notes. I'm going to come into my writings. You'll notice everything's relatively organized here. I'm going to grab one kind of at random. That looks like a good enough one. Copy, paste. For clarity, I could have just done it right here. I just didn't happen to want to. I wanted to copy and paste it. Now I'm going to give it the directions. Make this a song, colon. And I'm going to click send. I did not tell it anything beyond that. And here's my song. Now we could go to the standard GPT and see how it does. It might do okay, but this was made to make songs. If I were to say, add chords, it'll go, okay, here you go. And just like that, I can play a song from a poem that I already had, that looks great, that sounds great. Frank, you and I should pull out our guitars and see if this is a decent song or not. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a great song. I'm just pointing out that by using the pre-configured Lego set for what I needed, I shortcutted things. And there's lots of them. So if I wanted to doing YouTube here, if I wanted to create a YouTube video, if I wanted to, it's going to take me forever because YouTube has 1 billion results, apparently. Of course, it showed up and I got frustrated with it. You can see here, YouTube AI, YouTube video summarizers, YouTube summarizer GPT, YouTube SEO description, faceless YouTube automation, whatever it is that you want to do. The how is go grab the box off the shelf. The when is the important thing. When I don't want to write that song. When I don't want to do that calculation. When I don't want to write that email and it's complicated. My favorite when lately. So Frank, I had a project with a client. This project went on for 6 weeks. It was nonstop, and I did not keep track of the hours properly, which sometimes happens when I get busy because there's 400 projects going on. I just didn't keep track of the projects. So when it came time to invoice them, I didn't know what to do. And I said, oh, I don't want to do this. So I turned to GPT and I said, I'm going to feed you all of the text message conversations between me and this person over the last 6 weeks. I'm going to feed you some emails. I'm going to take a screenshot of my calendar. I'm going to give you a couple of pieces of information I have from notes, and I'd like you to build me an invoice. And it went, here you go. Not kidding. Here you go. And so I sent it and I got paid. In the past, I would have struggled with that for hours because I didn't know how. The reason I'm so persistent on how doesn't matter is because it's where your brain's going to go. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to start. I don't know how. Well, somebody else does. And it's usually inside this Explore GPT area right here where you can come in and you can be like, I need to know how to do bookkeeping. I spelled bookkeeping right? I should have just dictated it. I need to know how to build a website. I need to know how to create code for an email program that helps me clear people's email boxes automatically. How doesn't matter. When does, and using GPTs is the other piece of it. Now, there's one last part to this conversation, and that last part is going to require me to go to Safari, and there's a reason for that. The reason is that as fully functional as the GPT app is, there's one missing function. One. And it's the ability for you to click on, so for reference, I am on the GPT website instead of on the app. I'm going to click on the GPT section just like I did before, but you're going to notice right at the top right a button that says Create. By coming in here, you can make your own agent. You can give it the information that it needs. If you want it to be a songwriting agent, feed it a bunch of songs. Find a PDF of a book of how to make songs and feed it into it. Tell it what kind of songs you like. Put some music in there so it's got something to understand and reference. If you are building a program like the mail program, show it what it looks like. Give it the tools. Feed the information in. You come in, you give it a name, you give it a description, you give it basic instructions, you upload files, you give it whatever tools you want to give it, you immediately create your own GPT. And by doing that, you can have what I have here, which is the MacWhisperer assistant that knows my voice. So if I come into a fresh conversation and I say, I'd like to teach a brief class on the 5 most important things to know about using ChatGPT. Use my voice and information from past videos or conversations in order to build it. Make sure it sounds like me, sarcastic and knowledgeable. I'm not starting from scratch. It knows my voice. So we start with garbage in, garbage out. Prompting is everything. We move on to ChatGPT remembers until it doesn't. We move on to you can say no, try again, and you should. It's a Swiss Army knife, not a genie. That's a Dylan quote. The Swiss Army knife reference, that's a Dylan quote. It's only as smart as you let it be. All of these tools written in my language and my wording came because the MacWhisperer assistant has been trained with transcripts of my speech, with videos that I've made, with smart guides, with PDFs. It knows what I know, and I continue to feed it rather than starting from scratch every time. So in this conversation, we've had three separate pieces. The first one is create a conversation, but reuse the conversation. The second part is use agents when you need a specific skill that you do not possess. I am not a coder. I am not a songwriter. And then the third piece is create your own agent GPT to hold more of your voice, more of your information, and more of your pieces. And then from your own MacWhisperer or whoever, Frank, whoever you are, assistant, you will create additional chats starting with that basis of knowing who you are. Remember, not everything needs its own chat. Not everything goes in one chat. So as you figure this out, you teach it how to communicate to you and how you like to communicate outwards, and it gets better as you go. Okay, so I'm going to take my screen share off, put us back just a two shot. So I want to bring this up. I'm going to take a couple of questions. It's great to have you all here. It's been wonderful. I love doing this stuff because I've spent my whole life making technology work for me. For clarity, probably have ADHD, I would guess. I'm a child of the 70s. I'm a Gen Xer. So nobody bothered testing us when we were kids. As a result, in order to function through school, I leaned on technology. I used it to remember things, to keep on top of my projects, to prompt me, to write things, to make things easier. What we're doing today is an extension of that. 40 plus years of me using technology as the crutch and the tool that allows me to do what I want to do, make what I want to make, be who I want to be. So now we'll answer a couple of questions in a few minutes, but I want to turn this conversation like 1 degree. I want all of you to think about what you're currently doing today, what you're doing with your week, what's on your plate, what you're challenged by, where your, I don't want to do that moment is. Because even if you're just making lunch for the kids or trying to figure out what to buy for your husband for Father's Day or wondering how you could get in better shape, whatever is currently going on in your life, I guarantee you there is somewhere between 1 and 50 AI prompts that would solve problems for you. So I want to give you just a little basic list of some of the things that you can start to think about offloading to AI, offloading to GPT. And I kind of got a list. It's not a great list. It's a GPT-based list. So I'm going to give you some of the pieces of it. How about create customized bedtime stories for your kids? Okay. How about building smart packing lists for all of your trips, taking into account what you generally bring on trips, what you generally need, and AI suggestions? How about building an app to do something that you're doing manually all the time? How about brainstorming baby names for your upcoming child? We did that. We've been doing a lot of that. Trying to figure out like a fun name that's not too hipstery and annoying. Turn poems into lyrics, make a song. Design custom art, design custom wall quotes, right? We've got those great quote sayings. You can build them, you can make them yourself. Maybe you've got people that are living in your house and they're about to move out and you want to send them a thank you gift of some sort. You could have a song written for them. You could write a poem for them. You could give them guidance about how to move into their own house or other things. Whatever it is that's going on in your life right now, I dare you to drop something into the chat that you think AI can't help with, and I'll show you how you're wrong. Frank, that's kind of what I brought for today. That's kind of what I've got. As I said, I'm happy to take some questions. I'm happy to bring up whatever else we want to bring up. Did we cover all the pieces we wanted to talk about in the interstitials?
Yeah, I would like to mention the workshop again, but I had just a quick story because this just happened a week or so ago with my nephew.
Mm-hmm.
He's a young boy, and he was putting him to bed, which was a treat. And I asked him a couple questions. It triggered it because you said it right away. Is create a story, a bedtime story. That's what I did. I just asked him. His name is Dominic, and he wanted to go to Mars, and he wanted to go in a spaceship, right? And he wanted to bring his dog. So I just ChatGPT those things, and there I just read a bedtime story to him, and he was just like, "Uncle Frank, you're amazing," right? But I mean, it's as simple as that.
I come from a family of writers. My father was a screenwriter. My father used to make up the most amazing bedtime stories and still does. I mean, he has that ability. And I always felt I'm a writer, but I never had the ability to do that same thing. I couldn't translate the way I write and the way I think into kids' bedtime stories, probably because I didn't have enough of a kid's childhood in when I was the young boy. I was a little bit too grown up for my own thoughts. So when I go to imagine, I can be creative, I can be imaginative, but I cannot write a story like my dad can. Until now.
Yeah.
Now I can do it really easily. In fact, I can even give it examples of the kind of stories my dad made. My dad's a screenwriter. I can feed things that he's written in, and I can have a Douglas Day Stewart patented bedtime story for my kids anytime I want.
I got so many AI stories because we've been doing this for a while. Do you mind me sharing one more?
No, bring it.
So he's not my client anymore, but he asked me at one point to summarize 4 years of invoicing. He had this client, and he needed to have this reference and this breakdown and the averages. And he looked at me and goes, "Frank, I could really use some help, blah, blah, blah." In the back of my mind, I'm going, I already know how to do this, right? I did it inside 20 minutes. I just uploaded everything, gave it the prompts, exported it to CSV and Excel, and I held on to it for 6 days. And then I gave it to him, and he called me up immediately. He's like, "Oh my God, you are a lifesaver. How much time did this take you?" I was like, "Oh, Bob, don't worry about it. Just
Right.
pay me such
Right.
and such."
Right. And I just, again, you and we could go back and forth for another hour on those kind of stories because they're happening so often now. It's not a challenge for me to give examples. It's a challenge for me to not give so many examples that I'm on this live until Thursday. It's happening moment by moment, day by day, and it happens so frequently, like pulling together that invoice for that client or you doing that summarization of years worth of work. It's not that complicated. And I will say one other thing about how. Hey, Frank, are you an amazing, the best ever prompt writer? Are your prompts perfect, 100% perfect?
Now they are, but they weren't before I started asking for better prompts within AI. In fact, I built a GPT on better prompts.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. So there are also plenty of GPTs out there that are prompt writers so that when you don't know how to say it and get it heard in the right way, you just say it in the wrong way and it goes, "Here's the prompt you really wanted," which is really helpful for me. Is really helpful for me because you've seen me dictate this whole time. I dictate my prompts and I'm super verbose and I know I'm adding pieces that are just going to confuse it. So I tend to dictate, drop it into a GPT, and then put it where it belongs.
Yep. It's all in the prompt.
How? I don't care about how anymore. All right, what you got? Let's see.
Let's bring up the declutter one more time because there's only limited seating, and this is gonna be a lot of fun. It's during the Father's Day weekend, and there's replays.
Love it.
So all you need to do is register. You get the replays, you get the smart guide. There's some giveaways and some other things, but this is your gig. I'll let you talk.
I'm so excited to do this. I just to be really straightforward, I'm uber frustrated by how much time is being lost by people in their emails. We're saving things we shouldn't have saved. And we're saving, I guarantee you, because I've been in all your email boxes, I guarantee you that you've got 8 years of Amazon orders saved somewhere in your inbox, somewhere in a folder, and you're thinking to yourself, I can't delete that because then, I won't have that product that got delivered 8 years ago. Email has become this amazing suckhole. It's a terrible program. People think it's for storage. It's not for storage, it's for communication. But nobody knows where to put things, so they leave them all there and complain when they can't find anything. The problem with email right now is not how many things are in your inbox. The problem is every time you go to email to look something up, you're lost for 20 to 30 minutes if you're organized. Think about that. Think about that one document. You know the one. It's in your email box right now. You know it's somewhere there. I dare you to find it in less than 20 minutes and not get distracted by all the other things that show up. Why? Because it's squirrel central in your inbox. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 80,000, 100,000, 200,000. How many thousands and thousands and thousands of documents do you want to look through every time you need something? I will tell you, for me, none. None. I put my stuff away. But I know most people are overwhelmed by their inbox. So we have created a 3-day workshop where every day is going to build on the prior day and give you every tool that you need to take your inbox back. And if you ask some of the recent students that have been through this class, some of whom are still on the chat right now, they keep reporting back to me. They're like, you have no idea how freeing it is to open up my inbox without fear, to know that I've read everything that's important, that I'm not collecting old Amazon receipts, that I'm not holding on to things that don't matter and storing them and paying Google or other companies for additional storage so that I can leave Amazon emails in my inbox until Amazon goes out of business. It's dumb. You're not dumb. You were fed a bad system and nobody taught you how to use it. Come to this workshop and I will teach you how to simplify your email so that you can have inbox zero or very close to it. And if you think that's BS or hallucination, as ChatGPT would say, I will tell you straightforward, I have 10 email addresses and less than 100 emails in my inbox total. Not less than 100 unread. Less than 100 total. And I have maintained that system for the last 4 months using the tools I'm going to share here.
Neil, I hope you signed up for the workshop.
Yeah, let's see. What does he say? Will you just read it out to me? It's a little hard for me to read on that.
I've got pictures I've saved after emailing them to myself. I can't delete my 16,000 emails in bulk because I don't want to lose those attachments. Come on, Neil.
Right. This is the problem. Here's the first part of that problem, Neil. Not calling you out, but I am calling you Neil for a change, which is a good step in the right direction. Here you go, Neil. You ready? I don't understand why people email or text themselves anything ever. Maybe once in a blue moon, but if it is your habit to email things to yourself so that you have them and you're putting them into your inbox with all the other crap, you might as well just throw that stuff away. Because clearly, you're never going to find it. Now, the truth is, there are systems. We'll talk about them this weekend. I know that there are tons of photos in your mail. What you may not know is it's one click to get it out of mail and into the Photos app. And then once you get them out of mail, stop sending them to mail, put them right into the Photos app. One of the things I teach in my classes is the concept of take your last step and make it your first step. So here is the current process. I have a photo, I email it to myself, it sits in email, and eventually maybe I move it into Photos. As opposed to, I have a picture, I put it into Photos. Skip the middle part. And Neil, you're not alone. I'm not calling you out. I guarantee you, of the people that are on this call right now, over 70 people right now with us, I guarantee you that 60 to 70% of them have more than 15,000 emails in their inbox. Many of them have more than 10,000 unread emails. And if I were to say to them, I'm going to delete everything and you won't be able to save any of your photos, they would all absolutely drop dead on the spot because they all know they've been doing that. They've been emailing photos. Their kids have emailed them photos. They've got emails sent in from all over the place, and they're just sitting there waiting to get lost because email is not a storage system. It sucks for storage. It's too distracting. There's too many things coming in. It is a communication system. We're just using it like storage because you don't know where to put your stuff. I do. I want to help you know where to put your stuff so you save time and don't have to worry about deleting a bunch of junk email for fear that you might lose that picture of your daughter. Solvable. Come join us.
It's going to be fun. They always are.
All right. All
It's
right.
been an hour and a
I
half.
think we've done what we need to do. Yeah.
It was a quick hour and a half. I just got a text from my son. He's working on a project. And I just asked him, where did you get this information? Guess what he answered?
Perplexity.
Perplexity.
Yep. Yep. We're teaching people the right directions here. So there are tons of tips, tons of tools, tons of information you got from this conversation that really wasn't a how-to. Was just meant to set the context of stop worrying about it. Stop wondering how. Get in this game. Say one last thing about that before I kind of close this out. Coding is one of the businesses, one of the professions that is most afraid of AI because coding is mind-numbingly slow and annoying and frustrating and it's debugging and you got to know all this terminology. And it is the best coders in the world hate it with every ounce of their being. And AI is going to make it easy. It's going to make it easy. It's going to do all the work. So should all those coders quit their job and go on the unemployment line? No. Because the coders understand what's possible in a way that GPT doesn't. With no coding experience, I have caught 10 stupid errors in the script that I was building because I'm a human being and I don't want it to take 8 steps. I'm not an engineer. I don't work at Google. I don't want to make it complicated. I want to go in, click a button, and get an answer. And so when it comes to coding, when it comes to writing music, when it comes to making art, don't get out of the game. Get into how using AI can up-level what you're doing. It doesn't mean it has to do it for you, but it can do it with you. And that's a big step forward. I want to just give a big thank you to Frank spending part of his Saturday here with us. I know you've got a lot of things going on with your family, and it was so exciting to have this conversation with you because of our shared AI experience over the last 4 or 5 years before anybody else was doing it for sure. We were on Jasper when Jasper was the forefront.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm looking forward to the next 5 years.
You guys are awesome. Yeah. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Frank. Thank you for being here. I'd love to see you at our workshop. I'd love to see you on YouTube. I'd love to have you as a member. I'd love to have you as a student in the MacWhisperer Academy. If you have any questions, if you have any needs, if any questions arose that didn't get answered, email Frank. He needs more emails in his inbox. He's already cleaned it out. Frank at themacwhisperer.com.
Challenge me.
Challenge him. He'll tag me in when he needs help. But we're here for you guys, and I want to say thank you for spending your Saturday afternoon with us.